Doug and I met when I was 7. Seemed like a nice guy. At the time, obviously, I had no idea that 33 years later, we'd still be friends. And some of my earliest memories with Doug, he was very supportive. He'd come out, watch soccer games, basketball games, coached a few of those teams. We went to movies, listened to music. He was a bowler, so we went bowling. That was new to me. You know, just things that a kid and his dad might do, or a kid and an older brother. But very early on also, he involved me with his family. He showed me the importance of working hard. He was always working hard, completing the job, getting the job done, bringing me into his workplace. I got to see that firsthand. And so, you know, as I got into my career, I knew I was going to have to work hard, and he was a great example of that. Doug's definitely been the biggest influence that I've had in my life. I've had a lot of great people in my life, but Doug is no doubt the biggest influence. What I did learn from Doug was how important it was for young people, at the time myself, to have somebody who they could call a friend, who they could laugh with, who they could respect, and knew that that older person, the adult, respected them back. So I think as I went into education, that was certainly something I wanted to give to any of the students that I work with. I just can't imagine how things would have turned out differently, but they would have. I wouldn't have had the self-confidence I have today. I wouldn't have the people skills that I have today, and those were just learned by watching. And so to try to imagine my life without him in it, I don't know. I don't think it's possible.
I took Chris on when he was 7 years old. He had a little brother and his mother. Chris and I became so close, and he became so close to our family. So then did his little brother, and so did his. It's been a magical relationship our whole life. You know, there's times when you look back at those decisions that rise to the top of being considered profound, like who you're going to spend your life with, children, your career. And in my world, one of the most profound decisions I ever made was getting involved with Big Brothers and finding Chris Ashbrook, because as I'm in the city and working in my business, and I run in or talking to families that have children, and they'll say, well, they go to this school or that school, one of the schools that Chris has touched, I will say, well, by the way, do you know Mr. Ashbrook? And the answer is just an unequivocal, absolutely. And he's a great guy. And that gives me the ability to open the window and say, well, guess what? I was his big brother. And that brings me lots of pleasure.
Well, back when I was 8, I wasn't always the most respectful kid to my mom, and I didn't make the best grades in school. And she thought it'd be a good idea to sign me up for Big Brothers and Big Sisters so I could get some more positive male role models in my life. I was not on the waiting list for very long. I was very lucky. I met Bob soon after that. I instantly had somebody that I wanted to do well by. I respected him instantly, and we just instantly hit it off. We had a good time, and we've just been friends ever since. Every person, every adult they do everything in their life, and a lot of times they will draw back to their memories of, my mother taught me how to bake cookies, or this is how I learned how to throw a curveball. There's so many instances in my life that I'm able to think back to, this is the first time I did this was with my big brother, with Bob. He was really open about everything. So, I mean, he took me to go play video games at the arcade. He was the first person I ever played catch with. I never got to play catch with my father growing up, so he's the first person I got to do that on a regular basis with. You know, that was just some of the easy, simple stuff we did around the house. We also, we've gone to Royals game. He took me to my first Royals game. A lot of that transitioned into helping around at my own house and respecting my mom and, you know, everything that she does. Once I met my big brother, that I got focused and started thinking a little bit more about college, doing well in high school, staying eligible for sports. So those type of things motivated me to do well in school. Bob opened my eyes to kind of some of the different things I might be able to do after high school and after college. So in order to do those things, I had to keep my grades up. even in the way he speaks, the way he deals with people. I always wanted to do that. So I think as I grew up, I learned, hey, I was able to come out of my shell, to grow up, and to not be shy with people. All things that being a police officer, you can't really be shy. You have to be able to go out and to talk to people, and you still need to be friendly when it's needed. Bob's been in my life for so long, it's actually hard to imagine myself without his guidance. I definitely think my relationship with my mom would be a lot more strained. It's hard to say if I would have ever tried drugs, if I would have abused alcohol, if I would have graduated college, if I would have went to a nice college. So, it was always nice on a Friday night knowing that he was going to be at my high school football game. I've also liked the program enough that I myself am a big brother, and I've always felt the need that I needed to stay in the program and help volunteer and be a big brother, hopefully mentor a young man just like myself.
Oh man, me and Cliff did everything. From going to movies, or going to the mall, eating out, going on family reunion trips with him, and he involved with my family. I had a great mother regardless, but I just thank God Cliff came into my life at the time he did, and what he's done it for me in my life. But to actually think about what it would be without him, I don't know, because I've always had him since age 10. With him in my life, I've grown so much spiritually, physically, and mentally, and as a man. On a spiritual note, although my mom took us to church, we didn't go on a regular basis. But Cliff, being with him, I went on a regular basis with him, and to see him in men's Bible study, to see men praying together, holding hands together, even crying together at times. I grew a lot in that area spiritually with him, and not only spiritually but physically, with playing sports, and because he played sports, I wanted to play sports. So I grew there physically, and because of that mentally, because you had to be a strong person in the classroom, and out of the classroom, and on the football field and off the field. And a piece of that was about integrity and being honest and trustworthy. And Cliff influenced a lot of that. We are still connected. It's kind of fun and neat. I'm now Cliff's pastor. Not only that, I've done his wedding and baptized his children. And so the little brother has now become the pastor to his big brother. I think if a child does not have a role model in the home, there should be someone in the community to be that role model. My life is a prime example of the importance of mentors and role models in young people's life. And that's why I believe Big Brothers and Big Sisters is so important for not only our community, but I believe it's important for our whole nation.